What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. Battles of Legend definitely affected the WCQ last year with some new cards such as the Water Timelord. This year, they might be doing it again. Timelords are actually a decent burn deck on their own. They do a pretty good job of staving off resources and doing their thing well. Now they've got all sorts of new tricks, toys, and one that's really, I feel like, just broken out. You can't not call this broken, in my opinion. Mishion the Timelord, Fire Fairy / effect level 10 0/0 must be cannot be special summoned from the deck. If you control no monsters, you can normal summon this card without tributing. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. Nothing new from Timelords, and here we go. At the end of the battle phase, if this card battled half your opponent's life points, what are they doing? Why is this a thing? This is actually insanity itself. And then, of course, once per turn during your standby phase, shuffle this card into the deck. You're not allowed to have this broken thing out forever, but halving their life points, that is crazy, because we also just got a new Time Lord very recently. So that's the fire one right here. We actually just got announced, actually, I believe for the set, one recently that does something similar. You're able to do 2,000 damage with Sandy on the Time Lord. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And at the end of the battle phase, if this card battles, inflict 2,000 damage. So that's what Sandion does. So we get serious burn potential for this deck within this set now that is a real threat. This thing does its thing. That's 4,000 damage. And Time Maiden can make it rather accessible so that you get two Time Lords going, in a sense, because you can tribute her, get one to hand, banish her from graveyard, special summon one after you already normal summon one out of your hand as well. Oi, 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 oi. She is so good. Basically, what Time Maiden does, if you haven't read this card in a while, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon a Time Lord monster with 0 attack from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So, like, this, you know, fits into those lines. It's one of the 0/0 Time Lords. It's broken, it fits within the engine, but we got 6 new cards. Let's not get too hung up on the most broken card that seems to be released in Battles of Legend. Heron the Time Lord, an Earth Fairy effect level 10 0/0, has all the normal protection, normal summon traits, and at the end of the battle phase, if this card battles, activate this effect. If your current life points are lower than your opponent's life points, inflict the difference as damage. So more straight up burn, but it depends on your own life points and what they've done to you up till that point. So I'm not as big of a fan of this because the other cards don't rely on theirs. And we actually have another, actually already good burn monster as well in the old Fire Time Lord that actually hits them 1,000 for a draw and then also takes away their graveyard resources. So like this one I'm not as big of a fan of in the deck, but it's still an interesting kind of piece and maybe a good filler Time Lord if you're trying to build the pure deck, but in my opinion not the best overall. But I do see the line of route they're going for. This one just infinitely better in my opinion. We got 3 traps. We'll read those in a second. Next up, I think the Wind Time Lord is pretty good. We'll get right into him. Raffion, the Time Lord, a Wind Fairy / effect level 10 0/0, cannot be special summoned for the deck. And it has the other kind of normal things. If you control no monsters, normal summon. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Take no battle damage. And at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of one face-up monster your opponent controls that this card battled this turn. Solid burn, and you can decide how to stack your chains alongside halving life points, alongside other Time Lords that are guaranteeing doing 1,000 to 2,000 with monsters that are huge problems to get rid of and off the field. They're doing their job right. These just became a real huge threat. And then we have Gabrion the Time Lord, which is kind of funny. It takes away your opponent's field presence and gives them cards back for it. All the typical Time Lord stuff, along with at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, shuffle all cards your opponent controls into the deck. Ooh, that's big, right? But then your opponent draws the same number of cards. So it does take care of like any huge, big, unbreakable board, as long as this card's not getting negated on its effect or stuffed. Like, sure, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, but it can still be negated, targeted, you know, taken care of in a lot of senses. So I'm not as excited for that, but it's still cool to see a board breaker that completely will break any board, but it just straight up gives the advantage back. So I don't feel as much the point is great for them. But the wind one, ooh, I like that. And I definitely like this one as well. Our Mission. So those both really do it for me on this. So let's go through some funsy traps before we get wrapped back around into the conversation. We've got 4K subs version, non-existence, a trap that is a continuous, and these go up in line. They're actually really fun. Once while this card is face up, it cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effect. Just once, one time. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects. Discard a level 10 monster, draw a card. If you control no other cards in your spell and trap zones, you can target one Time Lord monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. Then you can set one, basically going up into endless emptiness, as they call it, from your deck to your spell and trap zone. So you can choose advantage, or you can choose to go up the tree with a trap, setting another trap that will have to wait to activate. But hey, what's the problem? We're trying to do some anime stuff, you know what I'm saying? You trying to do anime stuff with me, everybody? I was going to say chat, just got done streaming a bit ago. So this is a trap continuous, endless emptiness, which the first one gets out of your deck and gets set up. Activate by sending a face-up, basically non-existence in your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. So the one with one ring will be sent by the one with two rings. But you need it to activate it all, so that's why it's huge that you can activate this effect to go and search the next one. But man, being your only back row too, pretty crazy, and having to activate it, get it, wait turns, etc. It's rough. This seems like a rough tree to climb. Besides the discard and draw a card, if only it was not a hard once per turn on both effects, it might not have been as rough here. So once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effect. So we've upgraded from once while it's face up to once per turn. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects. During the main phase, you can special summon a Time Lord monster from your hand. Not bad. And then you can also, so we're getting more to the field, which is helping with the win cons that we're seeing through Burn. And you can also target one Time Lord monster in your graveyard. Shuffle it into the deck, then you can set one, basically the next one, Infinite Light, from your hand or deck to your spell and trap zone. So going up the tree even further, we have one give off effect that you know, helps out what the deck already needs to do, and then we have a different effect that helps you go up the tree. But in order to have even activated this, you needed to go up the tree. So the third leg of the tree, the final leg, where we have this crazy triple light bursting out, is Infinite Light, a trap continuous card. Activate by sending one face up of the previous endless emptiness in your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. So you have to send it. Ooh, rough. And it cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, period. I like how they've upped that throughout the entire thing. This is kind of how a funsy archetype should be. But, you know, it's getting real serious with the Time Lords here. Time Lord monsters you control cannot be targeted by card effects. Neither player can return a Time Lord monster into the deck. This is like exactly what they needed, but they made it almost impossible to get to. It's actually crazy. And then once per turn, if you control no monsters, you can special summon Time Lord monsters with different names up to one each from your hand, deck, and or graveyard, ignoring their summoning conditions. That is actually really insane. Pretty much a win con. It's so good, but you have to go all the way through that. It's almost like you're trying to do a more accessible Exodia, more accessible Destiny board. And while it's cute, I don't think you might be going for these. I think you'll be going more realistically, if you're playing competitively, for the burn aspects that this has to offer. We have our Lazion as well, which I mentioned earlier, already released, and you might want to pick it up now, considering all these new burn ones. Basically, he has two really good effects. At the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, shuffle all cards from your opponent's graveyard into the deck. And also, once per turn, if your opponent draws a card, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. It is a once per turn. It's not a hard once per turn, if you might notice. And also, it can happen just to their draw phase, not having to wait on them to draw a card with an effect. Solid burn here. Solid burn here. And now 2 more cards meant to burn, one taking half of the life points that you can order however you like towards the end phase if you're going with multiple, thanks to Time Maiden's final effect. But also, solid burn damage from our new Wind here, Raffion. I really like a lot of these. I actually think the traps are really fun too. I think this is well designed, well played. You've got serious aspects, fun aspects. This is how to do it, and this might really shake up the WCQ for North America. What do you guys think? Will you actually be going with the burn deck now for it? It's pretty crazy in my opinion what they just released.